if when people get shit on by other people, unless you're really creative about it, like when you lose your shit, it just makes you look like the asshole.
You're alone again. I shouldn't be thinking of you, thinking of me. I know you're not.
Greetings, everyone. This is Mike, and this is the Daily Bread, Weekly Bread podcast, where I talk about life. And today, I'm going to talk about people who leave shitty comments and how you basically can't say anything because it just makes you look like an asshole. I have this other podcast that I do, and it's about the late 90s punk scene. It's called This Was the Scene. And I feel like I was going to address this over there in like my Patreon area, but I felt like doing it here made more sense because it's detached from that. And like people would really have to go out of their way from there to come over to here to listen to this. And I feel like this is the space where I can say this freely. Like over there, it's gonna go along with like what my point is, I guess, in talking about this. So before I talk about all that, two things. One, yes, I totally skipped last week. I was gonna do it, but I was just way too busy, and I just couldn't fit the time to sit down and do this. So there goes the streak of a year, but whatever. And the second is, if you haven't done it already, you should go check out the Daily Bread Couples Checklist. It's on my website. Just go to yourdailybread.com, and you can buy the book there. It's for couples. It's a little fun little, I guess, game. It's just a list of things. Each page is about 3 things that couples can do, and then it has like a funny interpretation of yes or no. And it's like a balance between really nice and then like fucked up shit. And the idea is to just start a conversation. Or in some of them, it's like, okay, let's go do these things. Other things, I mean, you could do all of them. I mean, there's one in there that says do heroin together, but that's obviously purely a joke. Even in like the yes or no parts, say like, just kidding. It's like, no, seriously, don't do this. But I mean, it's about like 2 couples. My throat. I'm just went for a run, so I'm a little phlegmy at the moment. So I might be coughing a little bit. Like that, clear my throat. So check out the book. It's a fun thing for couples. Just kind of it's a conversation starter. It's fun, and it's going pretty well. So, and I also get them printed locally in Raleigh, and I mail them out on my own, and I also draw on like the envelopes and things like that. So you also sometimes get a sticker in the envelope and little index cards that have drawings on them. So that's that. Actually, a third thing, I just got my first vaccine shot today. I got the Pfizer one. I went online, and my buddy was telling me about it. He's like, if you're part of this thing called My Chart down here in Raleigh, you can go on there and sign up, and they have vaccines and just, put like what you're doing. So I ended up getting in. I felt kind of bad because I literally put I was a service worker, and because he's like, yeah, just go under the umbrella of this thing that I can, attach you to. And I was like, I don't know, man. It seems kind of fucked up doing that. And he's like, don't feel bad. The more people get it, and he's like, they're throwing away doses at the end of the day too. So they're trying to get, as many people as possible. Obviously, there's rules and things like that. And I definitely wanted, I was like, oh, I'll probably get this done in like August maybe, because I was like, let's let all the 60-year-olds get it, and then all service industry people. And then I'd signed up for it, and I talked to we were out like last week, and a bunch of us were outside drinking, and there was one of the guys there was a doctor, and I was like, yeah, man, I feel bad. He's like, don't feel bad. He's like, fucking get it. So when a doctor is telling you that it's cool, then screw it. So I got my first one today. So my arm's a little sore, and that's about it. So I'll keep people updated on that. All right, so back to my point of not being, or people leave shitty comments. So my other podcast, it's been going really well for about 3 years now. I've had like maybe 2 random negative things that have been said on YouTube, the YouTube channel for it. And someone gave me a review, and they gave me 3 stars, and they were like, kind of shit on me because I didn't know the punk rock history of who this one guy was. And then the guy got like mad at me for not knowing what the initial lineup was for fucking Lollapalooza, which I don't understand how the fuck that's even connected to uh the fact that I need to have knowledge about like let me rephrase this. Like I don't know how it's even connected to the punk scene or has nothing to do with it. And like the bands that played the first year were like Jane's Addiction and Primus and things. And I was like, how? So if my podcast clearly states that it's about the late 90s, early 2000 punk scene, if I don't have any information about who the fucking manager of the Sex Pistols is, like I could give a fuck. Like I don't like the Sex Pistols. I appreciate and understand that they were necessary. They introducing punk rock. I mean, I'm not an idiot. I just personally never liked listening to them. That's it. This guy got just like shit on me and gives me 3 stars, and I was like, bro, like get fucked, you piece of shit. And but you can't attack people because then you look like an asshole. It's like you're in a no-win situation. If you're the creator of something, people are just they have to give their opinions if they choose to. They don't have to. They give their opinions. And obviously good ones are great because you're like, wow, this person I can't say I mean validates. I mean that's still even though I say it now I say that it's like it doesn't really validate that what you did was good. It's nice to hear. Someone appreciates what you did. And then like when people shit on what you did, you're like, man, I just spent hours on end to create this thing. And then someone took seconds to write this bullshit and they just kind of walk off and you're like and then you read it as the creator and you hold on to it. And what I noticed with myself is I think a lot of this podcast is really about self-reflection. The one thing that I noticed was I got so mad. Like I woke up to it was an email and it was like, oh, here's like your reviews. I was like, oh, cool. And then it was like 3 stars, so I read it. I was like, so I read it and I got mad and then it just grew. And I just got so fucking pissed. And I noticed that I was doing this and I was like, okay, let me just kind of like open my eyes to what's happening here. This person said something. Obviously, it's attached to whatever their bullshit is. And now I'm making this like the end of the world in my head because I'm so mad. But I'm taking time to go, why am I so mad? Like, why does this drive me nuts? Why can't it just roll off my back? Like, why? Like, what is the thing that's making me so sensitive about this? And I was kind of proud of myself because back in the day, I would have gone on a rampage and just like vocalized so much anger. It's like, yeah, I'm vocalizing this now, but I'm talking through it. So I feel I've grown obviously since then. And I think that there's never a point where you become like fucking Buddha where someone says something, you're like, ha ha ha, thank you. Thank you for your hate. But I think it's a good thing when something happens, you initially just have that what the fuck moment. But the growth equals you catch that early on and you kind of like look inside and be like, all right, even though I'm in this and this sucks and I'm mad, and you kind of like grind your teeth like, how can I make this a fucking learning experience? And it kind of eases it a lot better because then it puts it on you. Because if you put it on someone else, like there's really no way to control that. But if it's on you, then you're like you could control if you put a lot of time into it, you can control your emotions, I believe. Because I think, again, you can like what I found is that I limited the time that I was angry. It's like sure it was still there, but when I was like, all right, man, why don't you just sit in this and feel this? Like what does that feel like? And it kind of helps it go away or really just helps you think about like why you're mad. And like I really wanted to rip in this dude. Just be like, dude, fuck you, you piece of fucking shit for taking the time, taking seconds to shit on this thing that I've created and spend all this time on. It's like I've created the boat and now you're gonna captain the ship? Like, what? No. You don't get to you don't like you don't just jump on board when someone's done the thing. But it goes back to my point of earlier. It's like, but then you can't say like it's really a no-win situation if when people get shit on by other people, unless you're really creative about it. Like when you lose your shit, it just makes you look like the asshole. It just makes it worse. So I think they're one of the best things I've ever seen about someone addressing a real like a troll. I think anyone, I'm sure people listening to this have probably seen it, but when Kevin Smith got trolled at this Comic Con, and the guy's like, "Oh, what are you gonna get back to creating shitty movies or something like that?" You go YouTube it, but then Kevin Smith is just like, "Yeah, I'll get to that when I'm done fucking your mom," and the place just like erupts, and it was done so well. And that shit, like stuff like that's like almost like a unicorn, where it's kind of like a couple years ago there was this couple that had a restaurant and people left shitty comments and they went ballistic to the point where it went viral with how poorly they handled it. And then I'd say poorly is a term utilized where I use it there because it's like from an outside perspective, it just looks like a dumpster fire. But from their perspective, they were emotionally like disturbed or not disturbed. I mean, the way that they were writing things looked like they were emotionally disturbed, but like they were pissed, they were bummed, they were sad, they were hurt, and they lashed out. Like no one tells you when you get in business or you create something. I mean, they do eventually, but like part of it is just dealing with negative feedback. And if it's just negative to be negative, then that's one thing. But if it's constructive, then it helps you grow. And it also depends on you and how you're going to take that on, if you're going to take it in well. These guys obviously didn't do that, and it went very poorly. And that can like crush a business. But just like imagine, right? You spend however long, even if it's, I don't know, a couple of years, a decade, 2 decades, multiple decades, you build this thing, and then the internet comes around and it puts a lens on you, or just opens the entire world up to seeing who you are. And then just people shit on you, and it uncovers this inner thing that you haven't addressed, and you just take a bad stance on like what's the word? I can't think of it. Just you take a really shitty stance and just like, oh my God, I can't, I can't think of it. Um, like retaliation. There we go. And but then you automatically are gonna look like the fucking asshole, unless it's people close to you. Even the people close to you are like, dude, stop fucking replying. So I felt like when that whole thing happened on my podcast and the guy left it like this shitty review, and someone else one time was like, "Oh man, the interviewer's cringy," or they said they were like, "This guy talks about his band too much." It's like if you go back and listen to the very first episode, it completely is like the mission statement of what I'm doing for that podcast, and it says like the reason I'm doing this is because I was in a band and we didn't go anywhere. So it's like I'm living, I'm able to like kind of live vicariously through these bands that I'm talking to. And I say like it's about the late 90s, early 2000s. So it's like I clearly state everything. So when someone comes and they just say like, "Oh, you didn't know this," you're going, "Dude, like read chapter 1. Like it outlines what this is." Like, or the index or whatever it is. Like the you can't sit there and it's like if you can't just jump in late in the game and have a fucking opinion where you have no, it's based on no premise. So I mean like even in saying this, I'm laughing, but there's always just that small inkling. Like back in the day, there would just be this fucking inferno in me, and I like one time I made myself sick. I even talked about this in one interview, one episode where I talk about gorilla fitness and just how poorly I addressed this stupid situation in like 2011, 2012. So thankfully, within a little less than a decade, I have grown and I have learned how to not do that. But it's funny too because in my other podcasts, like I've talked about other bands' albums. I'm like, oh, that album's shit. And so then you're doing the same thing that someone's doing to you. So if that band heard me say that, they're gonna be bummed out by it. And I'm like, oh yeah, that's right. It's just this round and round it goes, man. So you have to kind of watch what you say, or just understand that there's gonna be repercussions potentially for what you've said, because either it could be a big thing or just someone to be like, yo man, I was in that band. That really hurt my feelings. And you're like, oh shit, I didn't mean to do that. It was just me as a fan going, I was really disappointed because I thought the other album was great and everyone gave this one praise and I just didn't see why. But that's just from my lens. It's not saying that the person next to me is wrong. It's just that's how I perceive it. So, and that is the world we live in, man. There's never, and I also think it would probably be pretty stupid or bad if there was just one it was just positive all the time, because then no one would know it was positive. It's like what was that metaphor, like a fish in water, and someone says, look at all this water, and the fish is like, what's water? Because it's just in it. It has no clue, right? So it's like if you just live positively all the time, I think that just doesn't work, because then it just sounds like I don't know, it sounds like a cartoon that I've watched when I was going to CCD back in the day, with like, them trying to talk about Jesus and the Bible, and they make it like everything's so great, and I was like, this is weird, man. Like these people are way too fucking happy, and that just freaks me out. So that was my ramble for the day. Sorry for anyone who was actually excited for or bummed that I didn't post an episode last week. I don't really know if that's even a thing, if people are bummed out by it, but if you are, that's kind of cool. Not cool that you were sad, but it's cool that you actually like this podcast enough where you were bummed out. So I will do my best to not fuck that up. But yep, so got my vaccine shot. Shitty reviews are hurtful, but you have to be able to control your anger and your lashing out. And oh yeah, what was it? Oh yeah, another just random thing. I just went back on Bumble this week and I connected with someone, and she was really cute. She's like really cute, and I was like, oh, this is cool. And I guess I'm just bad at messaging, because it seemed like it was going well, and all of a sudden it just like she just stopped messaging, and then she like deleted the connection of the conversation. Man, talk about shit that makes you just feel like an asshole. Like when someone does that, you're just like, oh, God, that's brutal. But then when I think back to my history, I'm like, yeah, I've ghosted people, or I've totally done that shit like that, or like hooked up with someone and then just like didn't talk to them afterwards. It's like, it comes around. But I was like, this is why I don't get on this stupid fucking app. It just doesn't make me feel good at all. But whatever. But I am not on a mission, but I am opening my uh, barriers, I guess, to, let's say, date. I don't really like dating. I wouldn't say like I'm a big dating guy. I'm more of a just do the casual hookup thing and be cool with someone, or like find someone where it all just connects. Like that's the thing that I dig. So who knows? I thought I had that for a minute this summer. Didn't work out. But it showed me that I actually have a heart still. So it's there, and I gotta build that muscle up because I definitely take it. Well, not seriously. I get very sensitive if if I meet someone and I'm like, "Ooh, this would be cool," and then they just ghost you, and you're like, "Oh, well, get fucked, you fucking asshole." All right, that's it. Go buy the book. Go, I don't know. Follow my Instagram. Your Daily Bread, BRED. And oh, 20 minutes on the dot. Oh, 20. Well, damn it. All right. Goodbye.